All right, so let's jump into our all our other pass plays on here. So I'm gonna kind of run through these again, make sure we're describing kind of what we're looking for with some of these routes. The main point I do want to make on all of our pass plays, so this applies to the dragon, our normal pass plays, screens, kind of everything on there, is that it's not only important to know what you're doing, but it's important to know what the defense is doing and what the other receivers are doing as well. Because you want to make sure that as you're running your route accordingly to make sure that you're not crossing over, getting into the same zone as somebody else, making sure that if you're going to modify your post, for example, that you're not going right over where another post is, or for example, if we're looking at California here, if you're running a go, you're not drifting it too far outside if you already have somebody outside of you. So it's really important to make sure that you do know and have a good idea as far as everything that we have going on the field. The more you can study the playbook, the better off you are. I do have wristbands coming for you guys that are going to show your route particularly on it, but again, make sure that you do kind of know what's going on in the whole field. So California, we're basically just going to call it left or right. If it is left, what that means is your left slot is still running your go. So just think California as your go routes. So you have, basically 3 9s. He's just running a post across the middle. The California post is really more of a flat post. So I don't want it going as vertical, because if you're going, again, this is kind of what I just talked about. If you're going vertical, really, then all you're going to be doing is running into this guy, and you can have one guy covering both of you. So you're really going more across the field and then just kind of sitting underneath. And then this go has to make sure if you're not getting the ball immediately on like a seam route, then you're going and clearing out. Okay. California right, same thing. Trips left California, totally same concept. The difference here is that so you have your you have your receiver, so Z would normally be over here, so he's moving over for trips, and then the middle guy out of California trips is running the post. So now again, I do want to make sure that you guys know at all these routes, because let's say I do want to change something up and I see something where instead of calling trips left, what I call is slot left. So now instead instead of the Z here, you actually would have the Y that moves over into this position. Z would stay over here, so now he wouldn't be here instead. So now you would have a post from the Y, T running the vertical, and then he would have a vertical over here. But again, you guys have to know what the different plays are, because if I do call this and I kind of change it up a little bit, as long as you know the concept, well, now hey, here's your out of your trips, the middle guy's running the post. It's going to just be a different positioning as far as how that goes. So it's pretty simple, but I do want to make sure that you guys are remembering all that. California coast, think about it as you have your California go routes on the outside, and then these guys were just running an arrow. Think about it as here's the ocean, they're just running to the coast. That's how you remember that. Okay, he's running to the outside. Now this guy, the running back here, he's just running a Texas route going into the middle. Okay, because again, we don't have anything in the middle, so hopefully all linebackers, if linebacker here, they both clear out, and then hopefully we can leave that to the middle of the field. Base flex dagger. So I know we've talked about dagger a few times, and I described it in our route video, but this is just designed to really be a quick option to get the ball to the receivers right here. So it's either a quick hit here or a quick hit on the seam here. So the slot guys, I really just want you, so this isn't really a go route. It's just a get to right here and then look out for the ball right here. So basically, I just want you getting right behind the linebacker, depending on where he's at. It's just a quick hitter on that. When I call dagger, I really want the ball out of the hands in like a second, either right here or right here to these receivers. Now, if the ball doesn't come out right away for whatever reason, then the seams do have an option either to take it straight upfield or to kind of take it out a little bit wider depending on where the defense is at. So you kind of have your option on here just depending on where the defense is, and you can kind of run away from it. The daggers, I don't really want you drifting too much. I just want you kind of finding a zone somewhere in here and then getting that quick hitter. Trips left bunch Z dagger. Exact same concept. Now you just have the Z running the dagger from here. He is, he's got the go on here. He's running your quick seam now. On the wristbands, I do have this as go inside and then go outside. So that's just to make sure that you guys aren't right next to each other, because I don't want this to be a go and this to be a go right here. So again, you have one defender that can cover that. And then running back is just running a swing route to that side. The running back hopefully will be also helping draw over the linebacker out there so that we can hit that dagger. Again, though, the daggers are really designed to be a quick hitter. So the deep 9 routes are kind of thrown more as a last resort. So I really want everybody looking quick on these. All right, so jumping into some of the different routes. So base dyno left. So just think with dyno, I mean, it's a pretty easy concept because it's just, you have 45 degrees all going in this direction for basically all your routes, just with a dagger underneath. You have kind of a smash concept going here. So depending on what this corner is, you're kind of putting him in a predicament. Again, really, I want this to be a little bit shorter because I do want him, I want this guy sitting right around here. I don't want you going into the linebackers too much. So then it's just a simple, corner here, post from your Y, post from your Z, and then you're just reading your corner and safety. So again, normally people are going to be in your cover 3. So if you have cover 3, so again, he's dropping back in here, reading here, he's dropping here. So ideally what we want safety kind of going up and reading this, and then this post going right in between. Or if this corner goes up and covers your X, then this corner is just going to drop in right behind him. Same concept with the cover 2 as far as with that smash concept on the left. Dyno right, same thing. Now we just have all our motion going that way. And then I do have the running back running that flare route, again, right up behind. There's a good chance that this guy might just pop open a bunch because, again, if you have all your motion kind of looking this way for your defense, and then he just kind of sneaks out of the backfield and then gets there, and then, again, hopefully if everyone's over on this side of the field, then he just has a clear route to the end zone there. Duck. So as we talked about before, that stands for double under corner. So you have your double unders and then your corners. Okay. Now the other thing too I want you guys to remember is that for the under route, that is going to be your 5-yard route. Okay. It's not deeper. It's not a dig. So we're not going here and 10 yards and in. It is a different route. So that's why we call it as an under. So it is a different route here. Now we're just reading the corners. Okay. X and Z, what you're going to be doing is just finding the zone. So depending on what these outside linebackers are doing, or their nickel corner, depending on where they are, you're just finding the zone in between here. Now, if we run it out of trips, this is where it does become a little bit different. Okay, so when we have your trips left duck, the reason I have this one at 6 and this one at 5 is because I want this one making sure they're taking a little bit longer. So on the wristband, I have it called as slow under and fast under, because the Z in this case has to get his, and then he is going across the field. Okay, so he's going all the way across the field no matter what. He's running his just like we talked about before, where he can kind of find the zone depending on where the linebackers are. So, if you have your linebackers kind of in there, you can basically, sit in here and then just sit and then get hit in that middle spot, whereas he's dragging everybody across and hopefully opening it up, unless they happen to just not go with him and he goes there. And then now you have your your slot guy running the corner just over the top of him. Okay. So this one, he's just getting out. He's got to go and clear, and then he's just getting to that corner spot. We actually had this pop open a couple times last year, where he just, everyone forgot about him because all the motion was going to the inside. So you do want to make sure that you are getting up to your 6 to 7 yards for that corner, so that way it is giving time for the guys to break underneath. And then again, same thing where we have a lot of motion going this way, and then running back swinging out that opposite way. Hank, this is just really a basic, just everyone's running curls pretty much. So you have your curl on your outside, from the outside guys are running your normal 10 to 12, coming back to the ball, 10 to 12 back to the ball. Middle guy, he's just running his like 8 to 10 yards and then just finding the zone in the middle. We got a little play action going, so he's just going to kind of just get up and then provide extra blocking, and then we just have an arrow from our Y. So he's just going to, again, break in. Keep in mind, though, too, and here's another point of why I do want to make sure that you know what you're doing. So as a Z, if you know you have your arrow running underneath you, what that probably means is that your curl now, instead of just coming up and then turning straight around, it's going to be more of an inside curl. So that way you're, again, creating a little bit more space. And then, because again, if this linebacker, if he's reading off of this guy and he's trickling out and he sits right here on this route, well, now you want to make sure that you're creating a lane for the quarterback to be able to throw. That way it's not, just you're not just sitting right behind this outside linebacker that went with the arrow. So that's why we have that going, is it creates a little bit more space, but you have to make sure that you're curling in more. We're going to call this a bunch this year if we need, just 4 or 5 yards here and there. Very simple. Everyone's just riding hitches. I do have an option for, so if we call X over, that means you have your X just running, that over route. If you're on the side of the over, you have the option to turn your hitch inside or outside. So if they're really playing you in, so let's say your defender's on you right there, it gives you the option to turn outside. I don't want the Y turning outside, because if he's turning out and he's turning in, now all of a sudden you guys are right next to each other. So I do want to make sure that on the side with the double hitches that you're leaning yours in and you're just getting that inside position. You're just getting your 5. So basically with these, even if you are covered, really what I want you just doing is getting to your spot, turning around, and then you're just boxing out on your guy. Now the X over, what you're doing is you're just circling around and finding a spot in the zone. So think about if we're running this on the goal line. Let's say we're on the 5, everyone's getting just past the goal line. Now what you're doing is you're running to the kind of the back of the end zone and then just finding an open spot and then hoping you pop open. So just keep going until you find a spot, and then once you do, just kind of sit there. And then hopefully our quarterback sees that. Same thing over here with the Z over. All right, so Milwaukee left and right. So again, we have it called Milwaukee because we're basically flooding this side. So we have everybody over here. And then we have it in layers. So you have your shallow cross. He's making sure you got to keep going all the way across the field. He's getting out, breaking to your out. You have your deep over, and then your go route. So the one thing I do want to point out with some of our formation stuff is that if you know you have a deep over route and you're this X over here, make sure that you're not lined up super far wide out, because otherwise it's kind of defeating the purpose of the flood if you're taking forever to get all the way across the field. So if you need to, scoot in even a little bit. So like, as I mentioned before, being on the top of the numbers, now you can even just come in a little bit. Don't give it away, but kind of shift in just a little bit, and that gives you a chance. But then, just make sure if you do shift in a little bit that you are making sure you're getting deep enough, so that way we're creating the levels on here. So we have our 3 or 4 levels. So we're basically flooding this zone to where you have, your shallow, medium deep, and then really deep routes. So that's how we're layering that to make sure that we're attacking there. Hopefully they're in a zone, not everyone shifts over, and we have more offensive players than they have defenders. Running back, I do want you coming in here and covering this side, just because if all our receivers are on this side, then I want the quarterback being able to roll out this way if he needs to. So that's why I have the little dotted line in there. Milwaukee trips right, Milwaukee right and left. So this is the same thing, exact same concept. The only difference is we have the X lined up at a trips and he's motioning across. So we only have this lined up for X. We don't have a Z motion. I just wanted to keep it simple and just have our X going on this one. Totally same routes though. Ideally though, what we want to do is we want to be able to get this guy motioning over and then be able to hit him on the run. So if we call it, if we call Milwaukee left, he's going, and then he basically just hits the Jets because he's already running. And then if we have it this way, let's say we run Milwaukee right with the X motion left, kind of again, same concept of what we're doing, before, where we're trying to get the defense looking this way, and now all of a sudden we're going this way. All right, Milwaukee buck. This is just our variation off of Milwaukee. X has the same route. T has the same route. Z, you're shortening that. Instead of running your go, you're just running a comeback. So think about this. We're going to be running this on either goal line or if we need a first down to a certain spot. So let's say it's 3rd and 10. You want to make sure you're running your comeback to 12, back to 10. Okay, and then catching the ball right there. So that's what I want you doing, is getting out to that spot. Now the Y, so here's the difference, is that we are going to run a little play action. So that's what our little red line is here. Y is going to slip out of the back and then an arrow. So on your wristband, it's going to say backside arrow. So you're basically just running an arrow. So instead of running it normally to this side, you're just sneaking out the back and then popping open over there. So again, we have all our motion going to this side. Everyone's looking over here, and then he's hopefully just sneaking out the back and nobody's covering him. All right, Reebok. So this is the one where it's a little bit longer developing play. So we do have, T staying in, H staying in the block. This is just pretty simple. We have a post here, we have our wheel, and then we have this curl. So this is the same curl that I was talking about with on Hank, where depending on where they're at, so if they're in a cover 3 and this corner is just dropping straight back, what you want to actually do is you want to press to this corner and then basically sit down right here. So you don't want to go away from him. You actually want him to cover you. So this is one of those cases you don't want to run away from the defender, because if he comes up and covers them, especially when we're in a cover, or if they're in a cover 3, now all of a sudden you have this wheel sneaking out, and then he is going up the sideline and nobody's covering him, because instead of dropping back, that corner is staying with this guy here. So now if they are, for example, in a cover 2, where this guy is sitting out here, this corner's sitting, and he's staying in this zone, well, now here's where you would take that curl and curl it inside a little bit, because again, what you're wanting to do is you're actually wanting this corner to try to go with you, but you don't want to just sit right behind him. Okay. And then if they are in any kind of cover 2, again, this corner's hopefully staying with this outside receiver, and then you have this wheel coming here, and then this safety, he's supposed to get over to this spot, but then that just means this is your spot to throw the ball. It's not a deep throw. It's just getting out there as quick as you can. And then depending on where safeties are lined up, that's where this post is either going to turn more into a skinny post, if you have your cover 2 to right in the middle, or kind of more across the face if it's a cover 3. Okay. And same thing, other side. Okay, so Y and T shallow cross. So this one's pretty easy. This is just the levels concept, again, where we have, our short, middle, middle deep, and then deeper with the 9 route. Pretty easy to remember this one too. So we just have it called T shallow cross. So you have your shortest guy, then your second, third, and fourth as far as the deepest. So if you're on the side of the shallow cross, of T shallow cross, you're X and you're on the same side as T, you have a post. And then if you're opposite of the shallow cross, so if you're the slot guy, you're the next level, you just have that dig. And then if you're opposite the shallow cross as the Z, then you just have the 9 route. So that's how you can remember that one. Makes it pretty easy. Shallow cross, I do want you getting all the way across the field, just like every single one. The dig, this is where you can kind of find spots in the zone. Post is post, 9's 9, pretty easy. Base Utah flex, that one's pretty straightforward. Dig, what I just mentioned, find the zone. Make sure you're not just sitting right here, though, obviously, because we do have the whip. So make sure you're at least getting in a little bit and then find your spot. You don't necessarily always have to go completely across the field, because otherwise you guys are just going to run into each other in the middle of the field. And then with the whips, just make sure you're getting to your level right here and you're not drifting too deep. Trips right Viper. So this is one of our favorites. So we just have that flat post on the middle, your skinny post on the outside. Y is your chipping, and then running the corner underneath, and then we have a chip, and then shallow cross underneath there, and then H is staying in the blocking. So I know we've talked about this one a ton, but we're just reading that safety. So hopefully, again, that safety is just going up on there. They're typically going to this corner. He's going to be either staying in this zone, covering the corner, which is going to leave this guy, or he is going to follow the post. So again, if this corner, then if he follows the post, he's covering here. Now all of a sudden we have this guy popping wide open here. It is important for the corner route. So the slot guy, don't get this corner too deep. So if anything, you almost want it flatter rather than deeper. Okay. So I want it at worst at a 45, if not even a little bit shallower than that. Because again, I want you getting to this spot out here, not deep, because that's just going to it's going to make it a longer throw. It's going to give the corner that's following him more time to get over. So that's where I just want this a little bit shallower, create space between you guys. But we will call that a lot, and that's going to score us a lot of touchdowns this year. Ram. So this is very similar to kind of some of the dragon stuff that we had going, but we just have like a little bubble switch going, Sluggo, and then come back on the outside. So pretty basic. That'll be a nice one though. I can definitely see the little bubble switch opening up a lot. Or if they just forget about this Sluggo, seeing that. But this is a very similar look to a lot of our dragon concepts, so I think that's going to open up a lot. Dakota. So this is one we've run a bunch. Keep in mind though, this guy is running a Texas route. He's not going to the flat. Okay, so he's going to the middle. The one thing I added this year was the Y and T release. So basically with that is that on here, I want you chipping, giving a little hesitation, and then going out. So that way what it's looking like is that the quarterback can read opposite of the Y first. So there's your first read, and then there's your second read. The other thing too is that if you are on the side of the of whatever I call the release, what I want is as the X and Z. So if you're on the side of the Y, so in this case it's the Z, I want this guy going underneath. And what I mean by that is that you guys are going to be crossing here. So think about you going under and then him coming over. That way you guys aren't hitting right in the middle. So that's how you remember that though. So if you are on the side of the release, then you're going under. And then same thing on this side, if it's T release, now the T is staying in and blocking for a second and then releasing, and then he's taking the underside, he's taking the over. And the reason I have it like that, if we think about it, is that instead of you guys crossing right here, he goes up more and then he's going under, and he can go down a little bit more, whereas with him staying in and blocking, it gives him a chance to clear from going under and then going out. So that's why I have it like that. So if you ever forget, just think for a second and you should be able to figure that out. All right, Beast Tight, Oklahoma. This is a new one. I think we had this in the playbook last year. We just didn't have it called Oklahoma. Same thing for the Y and T, is they just have their arrow routes. Now just the outside guys are just running a corner. We wanted an opportunity for the outside receivers to get some tight corner routes. So here's just an option to get out there. Really depending on, again, wherever they're running their defense, that you just want to read it. If they're in any kind of cover 2, or this corner sitting even in a cover 3, then you're taking it behind it. If he is in a cover 3 and he's dropping deep back, now you're just cutting it off a little bit flatter and getting out there. But you do want to make sure that you're creating space between here and here, so don't shallow it off too much. Colorado, we'll run this one a little bit more than we did last year too. We just have some crossing routes going. So Z being on the line, you're getting up. You should get to this point first and then break to your post. Being that X is off the line, he should get to this point second and then break underneath the post. Now your Y, you're just running a little 5-yard out. So this is the only 5-yard out we have. So it's not an arrow, it's actually an out, where you're running 5, kind of hesitating, making sure that these guys are clearing through, and then you're just breaking out there. And then this guy is running a swing, not a flare, so that way you're creating space between here and here. Goat, we're scrapping it. We're going to redesign that one. I didn't like it as we ran it. So, all right. So those are our normal pass plays. Go over that one a few times. I know there's a lot to that, a couple new routes. So, but we'll start repping those a little bit more as we kind of go through the season and hopefully be able to open some stuff up now, and hopefully the wristbands will help as well.